And ESPN, they're starting to release their position rankings. They have released their top 10 quarterbacks. The way they do it is they poll a bunch of their NFL analysts and then they compile that into one ranking. So first of all, let's go through the list here. Patrick Mahomes, no surprise, number 1. Joe Burrow, number 2. Josh Allen, number 3. Lamar Jackson, number 4. Matthew Stafford, number 5. Justin Herbert, number 6. CJ Stroud, number 7. Aaron Rodgers, number 8. Jared Goff, number 9. And then Dak Prescott, number 10. Anything, first of all, jump out at you when you see that list, Trent?
I would probably slide Herbert out of there. Then again, who do I replace him with? That's the real question. The other ones, I don't know. I guess Dak you can keep at 10. He hasn't done a whole lot since he's been in Dallas. Burrow, he was hurt last year, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good fit for him, though. And Allen. Allen's going to have to put the team on his back this year for them to win any games. Diggs is gone, right?
Yeah.
Where did he go?
Houston.
Their offense is really good.
Yeah, they've already got some good receivers.
Yeah, just for the list, just switch me Goff and Herbert. Just flip those. I think Goff has earned his stripes. I mean, he's not like the most electric. He's not going to make like flashy plays, but if you want a nice fundamental quarterback, that's your guy.
Yeah, I think Herbert, like you mentioned him maybe a little bit high at 6. What's crazy is that if you would have done this going into last season, I wish I would have known where he was at. I bet he was probably higher than 6 last year. And he just didn't have the greatest season. Some of that was just that team was a nightmare.
You'll never know. With the great coach that they just got, he might turn it around.
Yeah, I was going to bump him up to the top 3. I think by the end of the year, he's in the top 3. I think, and probably not just because of the coach, but I think they're not going to have a very good defense. But they did get better on the line, and they're going to run it more. But when you do that, I think that's going to open up the throwing. And your defense is awful, so I think he's going to be able to put points on the board, stat-wise, climb that ladder. So I'd probably bump him up. I think Burrow is just so unreliable to be healthy. So, and I don't think Josh Allen is going to be all that he's been because he loses someone like Diggs.
And he still had a good season last year, but not quite the Josh Allen we had seen, I think, the previous 2 seasons, but probably still fair for him in the top 5 somewhere.
He just doesn't have a ton of weapons. It's hard. And you see, if you catch a Bills game or whatever, it's like he tries to do everything he can to win the game, kind of like by himself, just running around and taking hits and just trying to keep plays alive and do that kind of thing, which for a guy his size is pretty impressive. They just Gabe Davis and Diggs didn't cut it. I'd say Lamar's an interesting one. They did get better this past year, but it's kind of that same. Some games he's really good. He beats you with your feet. They destroyed the Lions because they couldn't stop him at all. He just can break free from plays and he's so fast. Obviously, his arm is his weak point, being able to throw the ball and the deep ball for sure. But the only guy that really has won on the list is Mahomes. I guess Rodgers. Does Rodgers have one or no?
Yeah, he's got one.
So Mahomes and Rodgers.
Stafford has one too.
I'm surprised he's still in the top 5.
Yeah, I am too. I guess just simply like him at 5, Goff at 9. The Lions knocked the Rams out of the playoffs last year. In that game, Goff appeared to be the better quarterback. I mean, I honestly think in the last season, second half of the season prior, I think Goff, you could make an argument for sure top 5 just based on the last year and a half.
I agree.
Statistically, if you look straight at statistics, he might even be number 1.
It's just not flashy
because it's all built around
Gibbs,
yeah. I would have a hard time trusting Goff to go get me a win. And I don't know Goff at all. I had no idea. But when you watch him play, sometimes you're just like, dude, come on, man. Whereas I think like some of those other quarterbacks, obviously they take more risk and therefore they probably look a little more spectacular at times.
The other one from a just straight stat stance, and I know this because he was on my fantasy team last year. CJ Stroud's numbers were insane last year. So from a statistical standpoint, he could probably be higher, but obviously stats are not what you want to base this on. The only one I would say shouldn't be in the top 10 is probably Dak Prescott. Not sure who I would replace him with. I think you could look at Tua. I think you could look at Jalen Hurts, who obviously didn't have near the season last year that he did in 2022. Outside of that, I like the guys they have in that list.
What about Captain Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. Well,
Would you put Kirk Cousins over Dak Prescott?
I think I would rather, at this juncture, I would rather have Kirk Cousins as my quarterback than Dak Prescott.
That's fair.
Hey, we might need Dale to do some fact check, but hasn't like Dak Prescott been like 10-4? Like he's winning 10 games every year, man. He just can't win the big one. And the expectations are always more than probably what they should
He
be.
never meets the expectations that they have for him.
No,
you know?
but would anybody, unless you're winning the Super Bowl?
And then I do want to just mention one thing, Lamar Jackson. So if you watch the Attack the Rack YouTube channel last year, our NFL content, you know, I'm always pretty harsh on Lamar Jackson because I think he relies on his feet too much. Awesome to watch, super entertaining, but I just think he relies too much on his feet. And in the history of the NFL, as far as winning a Super Bowl, that style of play from a quarterback has never been successful. But I will say I do have to admit there were times last year where I think he's perfectly capable of throwing the ball well, and he definitely did pick up his passing last season. Anything else though on that list, guys?
I think if you look at it all time, you got to move Rodgers up.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great that they probably, because he didn't play last year, they probably could have used that as an excuse to not even put him in the top 10. So I'm glad that they did include him.
Could the Jets be good this year though?
Yeah, I think they can.
He's going to stay healthy, right?
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy.
Tough
That's
to come back from Achilles. Tough to come back from the Achilles.
Yeah. Speaking of Cousins, he's got to do that too. So,
what about no Super Bowl champion on there?
I was going to say that too. Like, I don't think anyone from a skill standpoint, statistical standpoint, you'd want to put Brock Purdy in that top 10, but he went to the Super Bowl.
You know, is that Brock Purdy? Is it Kyle Shanahan's system? Is it all the great players around him?
Check down Purdy.
We'll have to revisit that again come end of January, early February, and see what it looks like.